Hey y'all, hey y'all, hey y'all, hey y'all, hey y'all, hey y'all, hey y'all. Welcome back to Narrow Board.
Oh shit!
No way! Hey, did it!
Oh shit!
Hey y'all, welcome back to Never Bored with MMA. I'm your host, Richard, my co-host here.
Jason.
And today, guys, we have a great podcast for you guys. UFC 289 is around the corner, and normally we'd be talking about the main event and co-main event, and we'll talk about a good amount of the fights, guys, don't worry. But the main one for this pod is definitely going to be the people's main event that happens to be the co-main event, in my opinion. Charles Oliveira versus Beneil Dariush. Jason, this is probably, aside from the fight happening in the next fight coming up in lightweight, which is between Justin Gaethje and Dustin Poirier, right? This fight's probably the biggest. This is going to be the number one contenders fight. A lot going into it, but what's interesting about this, if you look down on the surface of it, it seems like these two guys trying to go for the title. But if you look more than that, bro, we have some great, well-rounded mixed martial artists that were first the dark horses of their division, and then we had Champ Charles Oliveira in the Olive era, right? And then we have now Beneil Dariush coming in, making his way, bro. It's crazy because both these guys, if they weren't in the title picture, they were circling around it like hungry sharks. And Beneil Dariush is this close if he makes it across the, if he gets that dub on Saturday night. But then Charles Oliveira the same way too, because whoever wins this fight is going to be next to fight Islam. So Jason, bro, give me your thoughts on this fight and this breakdown, and as well as see the conversation. Where are we going, bro?
Yeah, bro. Honestly, man, this is a big fight for both fighters, and I honestly, man, like you've already kind of mentioned this, but we're all happy for the main event. Like Amanda Nunes, she's fighting, and she's fighting, Irene Aldana. Like, let's be honest, the people's main event is that co-main fight, bro, because that has real big implications for what's next in the lightweight division.
Mm-hmm.
So it sucks that this fight didn't even happen. It was supposed to happen earlier on on a huge card, but it's still great. We're getting in Canada, Vancouver. Fans are getting a great fight, but bro, this Charles Oliveira, we know he's been through ups and downs. He was on a huge up streak for the longest time, but then he fought Islam, took a huge L. And it wasn't like he even mentioned all this week, he was like, that wasn't me, that was somebody else. He mentioned that so many times. I was like, okay, that's interesting that you say that. But then on the other hand, we have Beneil Dariush. He's been fighting, just winning. He's on a 9-fight win streak, I think. 8 or 9-fight win streak. And this man should have fought for the title a long time ago, I feel like. He's super underrated. He hasn't, this man was first of all, he was supposed to fight Islam a while ago.
Right.
But that didn't happen because of injuries and stuff. But dude, he's been in the top. He's been fighting up and down. He's been fighting top-level guys and fighting people underneath him. And he's been destroying them.
To get on your point, Jason, I 100% agree. Those are the kind of guys that the UFC should be, incentivizing because, in a lot of ways, Charles Oliveira reminds me of that too, right? Which is why these guys love these fighters. It's because, they have a chance to really, show that hey, we're these tough guys, up and comings. You guys say our styles are boring in terms of the grappling part, but then these guys end up getting these monsters back to back, are hungry and showing for it, and then they make their way into title contention, man, and then they end up becoming these super epic developed fighters. Both these guys aren't a stranger to taking challenges from lower fighters, but also rising up to meet the occasion, whether it's a belt or a regular fight. Because again, like you're saying, Jason, both these guys they got the dog in them for sure. And but the thing is, it's in terms of fan appreciation, don't you agree that Beneil kind of gives me the same vibes, a little bit of he's getting away from this, but it used to remind me of Bilal Muhammad, where it's just we know it's a little bit more grappling heavy. No one really cares about it as much. But then, bro, even those recent performances and decisions from Beneil, he's turned it around to be more of an exciting fighter. Because let's say, for example, that Batush Gamrot fight that happened recently, super exciting. A lot of people had Gamrot beating Beneil. Beneil's just held him off and then rocked him a bunch of times. So you're seeing him getting more confident with his hands. His grappling still on point in terms of defense. He already had that good offensive grappling, but his defensive grappling too is rising up too, just because of these contenders he's fighting. So, interesting matchup ahead of us on Saturday. So yeah.
Yeah, no, bro. Like, I feel like you kind of mentioned, he was kind of starting up slow, but recently, I think, if we're being honest, I think after that Tony Ferguson fight,
Mm-hmm.
that's where we're like, yo, this guy, okay, like there's this guy's dangerous,
Yeah, yeah.
and Beneil Dariush, bro, I think right after he fought Tony Ferguson, that's where like things got real, cause bro,
Mm-hmm.
this man, the way he almost submitted him, like that fight was insane. But then,
Mm-hmm.
like you mentioned, he went to go fight Gamrot. That guy was an up and coming fighter, and he was probably ranked like I want to say 9 or 8
Yeah.
at the time. And dude, sure like he was trying to wrestle him the whole time, like trying to smell his nuts, Beneil's nuts all day. But bro, I don't know if you remember that one punch he just threw out of
Yeah.
nowhere.
It
I think it was the
just.
third round.
Yeah.
My God, bro, like
Mm-hmm.
that is what you when you see stuff like that, like you know that man has underrated striking because
Mm-hmm.
we thought like like he's just a wrestler, he's good at BJJ and all that, but bro, that he has hands too, bro. If he needs to use it, he's gonna use it.
Hey man, it's the Usman phenomenon where it's like they know their wrestling's on point. They start getting good with the hands. Their basics are crisp. No, their basics are strong enough to where like a lot of people will throw like the 1-2 experience maybe strikers. Sometimes they'll channel the 1-2 go 40, 50, 60%.
Right.
But when these wrestlers start training that 1-2, they go from 90 to 100% on each of those 1-2 combinations, and they're out there to to put people down and to prevent them from getting their game across. So hey man, I mean,
Yeah.
we see a lot of these wrestlers get developing their stiff jabs and then developing the combinations slowly after that. And we've seen that with, I mean, Beneil has KOs on his resume too after that loss,
Yeah.
So, and I mean, that's the thing is though, like, Beneil is developed his striking, but that brings us to sort of some of the caveats of him that he also has been knocked out. That Edson Barboza knockout is still kind of fresh in the frame. So when you're going up against a
Yeah.
guy like that has great wrestling, was developing his hands, getting better with his hands, getting more confident, but then you get to the guy that really was notorious for that too. Except that he's
Yeah.
also a submission demon with the most submissions in history. Charles do Bronx Oliveira is just not here to play around, bro. Yeah, if he's a different fighter when he fought Islam, sure, I can see that. I sure, but I just say he was careless, got in the
Yeah.
moment and let it go over. Let's just call it what it is. That's how I see it. But hey, I mean,
Yeah.
hey, if they want to make that argument with it, by all means, I don't care. I'm not gonna mess with them when they turn their hair blondes and go Super Saiyan. They'll kill me. It's okay. Uno pronto. The name is Charles
Pronto,
Oliveira.
bro.
You know, so but if we're gonna talk about Charles Oliveira, right? Let's talk about him, right? In terms of, we know that he can put people down. That was before the eye surgery, right? We know he's able to. If he can, dude. If you get him on the ground you think you can hit him and then you clock him a little bit, all right, you get him on the ground, great, you get into his territory, you pull guard with him, except if you're Islam Makhachev and maybe Beneil Dariush, you're gonna drown. I mean, he was able to put down guys like Dustin Poirier, like outlast the strikes, outlast the rounds. So in terms of like that quitter mentality that was there before, let's just nix that in the bud. That's no longer there
No.
anymore, guys. That's
No.
been gone. After that win against Michael Chandler, for sure. If not that, then his wins against Gaethje, Poirier, and the rest of the division. At this point, it's like that doesn't exist anymore. He fought against those dudes that could test them and beat them.
Yeah.
So really now the question is, what does Beneil Dariush have for Charles? Because if it's in the striking, you could argue that Charles is better with the striking. He's able to put guys down like Justin Gaethje, bro. Justin Gaethje, the dude's a walking path to destruction. He put him down.
Yeah.
So again,
That's
like,
true.
please go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, man, like, I think, I think when it comes to striking, bro, like Charles Oliveira, he mixes it up really well.
Yes.
And if I'm being honest, like Beneil, he does mix it up too. Like he's had, I don't know if you remember that one knockout he had where he literally did one of these things. I don't know. I don't even know what the name is. It's like where you literally turn all the way around and he
Oh, the
knocked him
spinning.
out with
Oh, the
his
spinning elbow.
spinning elbow. Oh yeah, so simple. Spinning, the spinning elbow. And so I'm not gonna say he doesn't have a mix of striking, but I think Charles Oliveira has more of a forward mix of striking. He comes forward and he mixes it up.
I mean, he's got great use of the Muay Thai. He's not afraid to throw leg kicks, and even if he takes a hit or he overextends it, he's only going to do it to set up and like take someone's back. Like I remember like his exchanges with Dustin, bro. Like all the strikings were set up just for him to take his back and get him with a standing rear naked. So it's like
Yeah.
Bro, like, you think of Oliveira's making a mistake, he's just setting up for something else. So even if it was a mistake, he'll end up finding a path to get where he needs to go, right? So let's take a look back at it, right? He's dangerous on the ground because he'll pull guard, and chances are, if you're going against some guy who can submit, he's the most submissions in UFC history. And guess what, bro?
Yeah.
Like, guess what? Then you're probably gonna go down, right? Unless you, again, like Justin Poirier thought he had his BJJ handle, but guess what? Beneil conquered. I'm sorry, Charles
I
conquered.
mean, Charles.
Yeah, I'm sorry, my bad, bro. Charles conquered, and I mean, same thing. Like, he got down Justin the same way, like, and then even so, like, he put down Michael Chandler, who's got explosive super strength and his wrestling too, just his core strength and grappling people. Like, you saw what he was able to flip over dudes that were at least 2 heads taller than him, bro. Like with Justin. So like, if he's able to put down guys like that. Beneil, who doesn't have that, again, like, Beneil's chin has been tested, not the best. All right, what happens when he gets hit by Charles? Probably gets to go down. If you were to put down a guy like Justin, I don't know how Beneil can take it. That's all I'm saying right there, right?
Right.
In terms of grappling, Beneil's got great grappling, sure, but Charles is the most submissions in UFC history. So let's hope that, Charles isn't one that's going to shoot for takedowns like that too, right? It's more like, from when I've seen Charles play his grappling, it's usually like in those crazy scrambles.
Yes.
And that's where, like, and guess what? Like, Beneil can recover from scrambles, but, you give Charles, a scramble, he'll make a fat-ass omelet with cheese on it and get a submission and a payday bonus for that shit, bro. That's all.
Aki way.
Hey, bro. Hey, no, it's not Aki way. He's going to Brazilian Steakhouse way today, bro.
The Unto Pronto way, bro.
Beneil might get the Aki way, but shit. But,
no.
Go ahead, please.
No, you're right, man. It's, I think he definitely mixes it up really well, and the thing is, when you're least expecting it, that's when he's gonna backpack you. Like, you just don't. You're like, oh god, he's like smothering me with all these attacks.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. I'm gonna jump on your back and then I'm gonna choke you out. So, and he does that really well. He did that even for the Dustin Poirier fight and the Justin Gaethje fight. Both of them, he did the same thing. He literally out of nowhere caught Justin Gaethje out of nowhere, and immediately got him on the ground, got on his back.
Right.
Like, he's very fast with that, and I think that's like one of his specialties, is just being able to get their back and then backpacking them and then choke. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see this time around, because I kind of see Beneil Dariush as very similar to Islam in the way he fights. A little bit like when I'm saying like wrestling and heavy wrestling and not being afraid to take Charles to the ground. Because one thing that I noticed a lot in the Dustin and Justin Gaethje fight was that anytime like Justin or Dustin, sorry, it's so hard to say.
I know, the tongue twister, bro.
Yeah, when Justin or Dustin would like knock him down or get him on the ground for like from just punching him or something, they would not want to go on the ground with him.
Yeah, because they know once Charles pulls guard, it's probably going to be his side.
Right. But the difference was when he fought Islam wasn't afraid. He took that as an advantage and hopped on him.
Yeah, he's like, you wanna try to drown me, bro? I'm the shark. Goes in there and then drowns him. Which again, very few people can do. And again, bro, look, if Beneil has faith in his grappling like that to do that, and I'm not saying he shouldn't, because we've seen him can do good scrambles. It comes down to those, like, if it's scrambled towards the ground, Beneil's gonna be fine. It's just getting up in those situations and resetting. And I mean, that's where I think Edson like clocked him with that, because where I think he was coming up close to the fence, and then I think Edson like kneed him in the face. And I think it was game over from there, right? So, again, like, it's crazy.
That's true.
Yeah, so, again, like, it's one of those weird things where, like, in this fight, like, everyone can have great fundamentals, and everyone does. It's those little things, which I think we said similar to the Islam fight, too, right? But, again, Charles blew past that, and then that's how he's going to get caught, because then Islam got him on the ground, head and arm choke, game over. And even when Charles did try to do the right adjustments, it's too late. So in that case, if Charles is able to maintain focus and control, and is, sure, like, this is one of those cases where it's like Charles should be confident. Again, you should feel confident in his ground game, and not too confident where, like, all right, let me just accept bottom position. Like, if I was Charles and I know my fortes and my striking, or like, hey, like, let me bring it up to the ground, because Beneil's like, I feel like Beneil does a good job of countering fighters in his striking. He honestly, mostly he'll maybe lead the dance to sit at the counter a little bit, but a lot of the times he's letting the other opponent throw it and then waiting for that counter. And Charles Oliveira, like, I think he's boxing better enough to where like he could stay away from that. But again, even if Beneil tries to like overextend for that, that's just going to be another limb for Charles to grab on. In most cases, but in Beneil's case, I don't know. He could be setting up a trap. He could be doing this, that, and the other. In this case, it's a little bit different given how much Beneil and Charles have progressed in their careers and how much strategy they develop in these fights. So, I don't know, man. What are your thoughts?
No, I think it's just a interesting matchup only because like you have someone that is really well at striking, and then you have someone Beneil who's decent at striking, and then when it comes to the ground game, you got someone that's super good at submissions, super well rounded in BJJ, and then you got someone that's more wrestling focused and also has BJJ. It's kind of hard to see like who's going to be on top. Like, sure, like the only reason I even think anything like the reason that I think this is a great matchup is only because the ground game is going to be really important here.
Right.
I feel like it's going to be who can show the better BJJ, who can show the better wrestling exchanges, who can get out of certain bad positions. Because there might be a time where Charles gets on Beneil's back or has him in a really bad position. So can he escape and can he make the right moves to get out of those things? Because that's another thing also. Just a side note that I was thinking about. This fight, I think if Charles, last few fights we've seen in Charles, right?
Yeah.
Every time he wins, it's either a knockout, submission. So if Charles can get on Beneil early like first round or something, second round, pressure him in the clinch exchanges, be able to do what he does good, like throwing the knees, bro. One thing that I really like about Charles is when he throws the knees to the body, bro. I've noticed that in a lot of his fights, like Dustin, like I mentioned again, Justin fights, both of those things, bro. In the clinch, he does amazing work.
Yeah.
So in those clinch positions, that's where I feel like he will win a lot of the matchup. If he's able to throw the knees, elbows, everything you just mentioned. I mean, you already mentioned like how Edson knocked Beneil out. I feel like it's very similar to that, what Charles would need to do in this fight too.
And
I think like
Sorry,
yeah,
no, please, no. Finish up, please.
No, I was gonna say I think. On the other hand, Beneil, he needs to really watch those kind of things. It's those knees, the complex striking.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't throw just simple 1-2 punches. It's like you're gonna get elbows, you're gonna get knees from every angle. So that's one thing that Beneil, I'm assuming, should know about Charles, and that's what it's gonna be interesting to see, man. That's what I'm excited about.
So then, so it sounds like what Charles has is that not just. Okay, I guess my better point I want to kind of get across is that like it seems that like Charles has the BJJ on his side because he can get your back, but even if you pull guard, he'll slow attempt submissions. Beneil has got great grappling though, so it could be where it's like it could potentially negate and neutralize some of those exchanges. However, Beneil is willing to throw some of these crazier strikes, but who's the better technical striker? In my opinion, I think it's Charles.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. This is what's going to be interesting is that, like, is Beneil able to make the difference in the striking or able to hold himself on the ground, hold himself better off in the ground to where he can feel the need to bring it to the ground? Because, again, like... So, and that's the weird thing is that, like, and then that brings me to a question is who's going to bring who to the ground first? I know Charles will go to the ground first, but who's going to take that person down first is another good question.
Yes. And I think, personally, it would be Beneil to take him down first.
Really?
Because I don't, I think I like Charles on his feet. I feel like he mixes it up well, and most of the time, like, this is me basing it off what we've seen in the past. Most of the time when he's going to the ground or even trying to take it to the ground is when he's hurt on the striking.
Right.
When he was fighting high-level strikers like Justin's, he would get like I said, some kind of knockdown, and then he would just pull guard on them or try to invite them to the ground.
Right.
Other than the time where he hurt Justin and then he just immediately went on top and got back position. But I feel like like we mentioned, Beneil has knockouts on his resume, but I feel like most of his wins or most of his dominance has been through his wrestling game, and I think. If I'm being honest, I feel like Beneil is going to take Charles down first, or try to take him down. Maybe not. Maybe he won't get him down, but I think he'll be the first one to attempt it.
So then we could say that Charles may have better BJJ, but you think Beneil has better grappling to and wrestling to bring someone down like that? Because again,
I
because Beneil's gonna probably go for the doubles and try to. I think Beneil would be someone that would try to do the chain wrestling a lot better, and then or set up anything to get the chain wrestling going. But again,
right.
Charles would be someone that would accept it just to get their neck sometimes. So, what are your thoughts?
So I kind of every time I like even watch Beneil, I always get like glimpses of how Islam fights too.
Mm-hmm.
So the way I would think of it is like it would have been really interesting to see how the Islam and Charles Oliveira fight would have went if we got to keep seeing it, because
Right.
that would have been a real test to see can Islam take down Charles, because we didn't get to see that.
Right.
We never got that far.
It was a counter, then Charles falls, and then
and then he jumps on top, right?
Exactly.
So it's going to be interesting to see. Sure, striking wise, Charles is more advanced, I would say, than Beneil is. Mm-hmm. Beneil has power, mm-hmm. and he throws the more simple shots, like the more, I don't want to say technical, but I would say like more, just the simple boxing,
right?
Not the complex striking,
right?
Yeah, the basics. So if he can just get him with if Charles mixes it up, and while he's mixing it up, if Beneil goes for a takedown or for a wrestling, double leg,
mm-hmm.
I feel like he might get it. But the question is, can Charles, get in a good position to get a submission, or is he just going to be, just holding on to him, and will he be able to get back up? Those are the things that I'm thinking about, because, like I said, I when I see Beneil, I kind of see similarities to him and Islam a lot.
Right.
And that's why that matchup is such an interesting matchup, that everyone wants at some point. So, I don't know. That's what I see in Beneil. Mm-hmm. So it's so interesting, bro. And that's why this is the people's main event, because you don't know what's gonna happen.
You're right.
It's, there's so many so many different varieties of abilities on both sides that you just don't, like, when the clash happens, you don't know who's going to be on top. And
right.
It makes it interesting.
Honestly, that first minute of that fight is going to be just silence and figuring out. It's going to be crazy, bro. The tension. Ooh, I figured that if the fight ends spectacularly, then I don't even the main event would just be like, all right, this is just in hopefully just an encore, maybe a little dessert for something, but
right.
We'll see. But Jason, in that case, bro, let's talk about our official predictions going in, bro. And I'll take it off first, because as I don't know if the audience can tell, but this is kind of hard talking about this, just because it's like both these fighters seem to if they have one thing over the other, then there's another point that they have over the other person. It seems like it's simple back and forth in a lot of ways. But I think we can both agree that it comes down to all right, if Charles Oliveira is going to advance strikers, he'll invite them to the ground via, fake outs and fake knockdowns. But if he's fighting against another grappler, he'll probably take over his striking. So I guess the real question is, what skill set will Beneil Dariush bring in order to handle someone like Charles? Because if you're trying to go with them on the feet, I don't think 1-2s and maybe a spinning elbow every once in a while is going to cut it, That's not going to work, because Charles will probably throw more volume and more power at that point. If it comes to the grappling and wrestling, normally I would say Beneil probably beats most opponents, but if the guy that is inviting someone to the ground like Charles, it's questionable. If Beneil's even close to a level of grappling and wrestling than Islam has, then he has a lot better of a chance than a lot of us would like to give him, because again, Charles Oliveira has a good track record against wrestlers, except the ones that are of let's say have a V at the end of their name, based on what we're seeing, right? It looks like them Dagestani boys. Unless you're again, I don't know. As of recently though, a Nurmagomedov did take an L to a Brazilian. So if they want to, and they were able to neutralize the wrestling. So hey, again, I'm not saying Beneil's the Nurmagomedov level of wrestling. I'm not saying he isn't either though. So it really depends on what he could bring to that table. But again, I think Beneil does just set a position. But again, Charles Oliveira is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guy, so he knows that position always beats submissions, position before submission. So again, I don't know. My instinct says, bro, for this official prediction, guys, I'm going to lean Charles, but it's not even by a percentage. It's more like a 0.001%, just because that really, again, it's just because Beneil, every time he's brought down, he rises to the occasion. This is his biggest challenge yet, though, Biggest challenge yet. What better way to rise to the occasion than this? Because if you can't stand up again, like Charles Oliveira is an anomaly in the lightweight division. If he's being placed as the gatekeeper for like the top to get to Islam, then everyone in the division is gonna have a hard time with it. Because he's. And that's why I'm like, if Charles Oliveira can just, be less, in his own head, or rather less into the hype of that moment, more so focusing, getting his game plan out, then I think, that Charles Oliveira gets it done. I'm going to predict that he gets it done either around, is this a 3-rounder or a 5-rounder?
It's 3 rounds.
Oh my God, bro. So the pacing is going to be killer. In that case, I'm going to give it around either an early round 3 or a late round 2 TKO or stoppage. But again, this really depends if Charles Oliveira follows the game plan. Beneil does a better job of following the game plan, but Charles Oliveira, I think, is better at seizing his moments. Those crazier moments, Charles Oliveira is able to find that to get what he needs to get done. And it always wows a crazy performance. But again, though, guys, I make this prediction with that. Like, I'm not too sure. I just think just based on the track record that Oliveira has in terms of the level of opponents he's fought, the level of competition he has faced, what he's endured in that octagon, and the test he's had to come out the other side. Very few people have done it, were called a quitter, and then become champion. Put some respect on Charles Oliveira. Uno pronto, Charles Oliveira. We still got that run, But again, I'm trying not to let that get in the way of how dangerous Beneil is, because this man has potential. Everyone's touting his wrestling to be like on the level of comparable to Islam. And if that's the case, then Charles Oliveira's going to have a really long night. That 3-round fight's going to feel like 40 rounds if Beneil's just going to be wrestling the whole night. So I'll tell you this, though. If Charles Oliveira doesn't get that wrestling, that wizard lock, that, getting his underhooks in to figure out where he needs to be in that clinch exchange, then he won't get that game he needs to. But I still think when Charles Oliveira is on, he's unstoppable. I give it to Charles Oliveira.
All right, man. And you said what, second round?
Second or late second or early third. But even then,
submission?
It's a TKO or KO. I don't think.
Okay.
I think it's gonna be on the feet for this one, just because Beneil can neutralize a lot of the ground game if Charles needs to do it. But again, it really depends on how they play it from clinch to groundwork. So we'll see.
That's interesting, man. Man, I think on my side of things, so there's two things, right? One thing, just to mention this up front, I think if Charles were to win this fight, I don't think he could get a decision.
Yeah.
It has to be KO, TKO, or submission. Because when it comes to like the decisions, like it's not. He's been winning by TKO, KO, or submissions in the past like few years now.
Yeah.
So I don't see him winning by decision. And I also don't see him winning this fight.
Oh my God.
My official prediction.
Yo.
My official. Look, you've already mentioned. Look, this for me too. It's kind of the same idea. Like it's a very close margin of like who I think is gonna win. I would say like 0.5% difference. Like not much of a difference, because like this is a hard one to pick.
Right.
But I just feel, these are some of the reasons why I think Beneil is going to win. I think one thing, I feel like he's more hungrier at this time because Charles has already fought for the belt. He's won the belt. Not to say that Charles isn't hungry or that he's not going to win, but I just feel like Beneil has been underestimated a lot, and he hasn't even gotten the chance to fight. And he's been wanting to fight the top level guys.
Right. He's
been fighting everyone that the UFC's been asking for. And this is his opportunity to finally fight for the belt, because from what I've heard, if he wins this fight, he's next for the belt.
Yeah, no
against
question.
Islam.
No question.
In October, right? So I feel like he has a different hunger, because Charles, he has fought for the belt. He has won. He has defended with the belt like once or twice. But Beneil hasn't even had the chance yet. And and I feel like he has a different hunger. Now, when it comes to the technical aspects, like I mentioned, I feel like he's similar to how Islam fights. Like some of the wrestling exchanges and how he does things, I feel like it's very similar, and that's why that matchup has always been like a dream matchup that we've wanted: Islam versus Beneil.
Right.
So I think my official prediction, I think it's gonna be a submission. I'm gonna say
What? What? All right, go off, King. I guess.
I'm I'm gonna say third round, second or third round submission for Beneil.
Holy shit! Second or third round submission from Beneil. Oh my goodness. Damn, son.
I just or either that or a TKO.
Okay. Damn, son. You think Beneil got that power in his hands to KO Charles? Shit.
Bro, dude.
Shit.
I mean, look, I was watching some highlights, man. Like that man has put some people out.
He's got monster power. I'm not dissuading that. But I mean, hey, all right, this is gonna be our first debate. Let's have a debate,
and
bro.
look, and bro, let's be honest here, right? Like the only reason I'm even saying this, every time like Dustin or Justin, every time when they hurt, Charles, like bro, he went on the ground, like
Yeah.
and I'm not saying he was quitting. He fell. Because he got stumped. He got knocked down.
Well, couldn't you argue that, like we said before, like, hey, like, against these strikers, why, like, waste my time on the feet when I let them hit me, feel comfortable on the ground, and then I trap them? What difference does that make? I mean, he tried to do the same thing with Islam. He went back to his deep game plan. You're telling me that left hook from Islam actually put down Charles Oliveira? No, bro. I mean, maybe
no, I don't think it was that left hook, but I think some of the strikes from before, like,
okay,
I'm not saying I don't.
Go for it.
Go ahead.
No. Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I don't think Charles like just falls on the ground just to like oh yeah come here, like I'm just gonna take a fall.
No, he does it to take a break too. It's a clear game strategy where it's like, all right, chances are you're not gonna come down to my level. I can just sit down, breathe for a little bit, take 5-10 seconds, get back up, reset, boom, next sequence.
Yeah, so I think in the difference here is going to be that he's not going to like it. Okay, say he does that in this fight, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Beneil's just going to be like, oh yeah, like Justin and Dustin be like, oh no, get back up. Like he's not going to do that. He's going to jump on that opportunity and test his wrestling and his ground game to Charles. Like he's already said that too. He said that in the lead up. He's already said like I don't think. And this is the little like I don't really. When Beneil said this, I was like I don't know. It's arguable, but he was saying like he doesn't think that Charles is on his level. He said that, and I was like okay.
In terms of what?
That's interesting.
Though? In terms of what?
His ground game.
Again, like we said before, the grappling part, like in terms of just maybe raw, I guess grappling skills, sure, but Charles's bread and butter isn't to just. Again, the positions first, but he's going for the submissions. He's not going He's not going there on the ground for vacation. He's going there to finish his opponent. And I think in terms of that's the thing. Reason why I gave Charles is because I'm not saying Beneil isn't hungry for the finish, but Charles is always going to go for the finish. Whenever there's like he's not going to let his opponents take a break. Like you saw with that Tony Ferguson fight too. He wasn't letting him stay on the ground. He was going to break his arm and twist it back. Yeah. Keep punching him in the face. So again, it's not like when Charles is there, he's going to try to go for. The only time I see him go for a break is never on the ground. It's when takes a hit, gets on the ground, rests up, then boom, gets the sequence, and then when he does that, he gets up, and then chances are he puts down his opponent right after. In most to some cases, right?
Right. So that's what I'm saying. Like I think it, like you said, Charles doesn't always go for the ground game immediately. He doesn't go for a wrestling takedown or like a double leg. He usually hurts the opponent or he brings on so much offensive striking to where the opponent gets clustered or flustered, and then he takes advantage of a certain position. Mm-hmm. Like to the Dustin fight, that's exactly what he did. He put on so much pressure, and then he was able to basically get him on the back. Mm-hmm. So I feel and. That's the thing, right? Another thing I was just thinking about, like there was a moment where, in the Dustin fight where Dustin hurt him, and he was on top throwing punches, and then it seemed like Dustin was on top, but then he was trying to get some kind of hand submission, and from that he was able to turn his way into having top control. Right. So those are the kind of things that I'm interested in seeing. Like I want to see okay, how is Beneil going to handle those kind of situations?
On those super technical ground game part. Yeah, I can see that.
So those are things like I'm looking forward to. And look, if I'm being honest, like it could even be a decision.
Yeah.
For me, it's just just completely like just prediction wise, I just think Beneil's gonna win.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even, if I'm being, I don't know how. Like
I mean, none of us actually
all,
know how for sure, but like
right. Well, yeah, that's true. But I just at the end of the day, I don't know. I feel like I think Beneil could do this, man, and it's gonna be interesting to see because if I'm wrong, I don't even care because it's still gonna be a great matchup. So
all right, man. Dude, we had a little tussle back and forth. We'll see who's gonna be king of the ground game on Saturday night. But it was interesting. True. So, Jason, you predicted a third or fourth round decision or TKO?
Third, second or third, yeah.
Third, I predicted TKO or KO in the second or third just because I think Charles can keep it up on the feet. But hey, right. Hey man, it's gonna be crazy. The people's main event and / co-main is gonna be wild. But guys, before we go, we're gonna transition over to talk about just the main event super quickly. Like I said, it's just dessert. Jason, let's just start off with predictions. I think Nunes is gonna get slept, bro. I think the Nunes is gonna get slept, and the reason why is because like you look at her last opponent with Juliana, and I think Nunes' opponent. Aldana, if I remember correctly. That's her last name, right? Aldana?
Aldana, yep.
Aldana, yeah. I think Aldana...
Irene Aldana.
Irene Aldana, yes. I think Irene Aldana has some really crisp boxing. Nunes definitely has power, but technique is where it's at. And I think that the team that she trains out with, she trains with Alexa Grasso too, who's also a champ. Mm-hmm. And I've seen some of the fighters that they have in their camp. They're kind of deadly people, you know. So I think that if Aldana has the right training, if she's able to, again, she has to avoid Amanda's leg kicks, in my opinion, because in terms of the physical size, those leg kicks are heavy if Amanda Nunes is kicking at you, But yeah, I love the marketing. Side note, I love the marketing behind it, where it's the Lioness versus the Jaguar, and I was like, that's kind of sick. I'm not gonna lie, that's kind of fucking sick marketing right there. Which is why if it was a little bit better though, it wouldn't be only our dessert section on this podcast, to be honest. But I think, I mean, I say that just because I think Aldana. I mean, look, I think. If Nunes was able to get submitted by Juliana and Juliana couldn't even handle like a left, fighting southpaw against, against a Nunes, but Zaldana, who's got way better crisp boxing and was able to do crazy stuff like literally get a liver kick from the ground up to stop someone. Yeah, I'm like, that's crazy. I saw that fight live. I was like, what? Yeah. That actually happened? Holy shit, bro. Again, these Mexican fighters got the dog in him, bro. So, and again, Nunes is really like... the reason why I'm saying Nunes is going to get rocked is because she's used to a lot of her opponents getting fearful. A lot of fighters lose before they even get into the octagon with her. Megan Anderson. Like literally a whole list of literally all of her last opponents probably lost before they got into the ring with her, right? But Megan Anderson comes up because I was like, oh, you literally have every stat boost better than her and you still lost. What the fuck? But... So again, and I think if Aldana doesn't get phased before the fight, I think she has the technical skills to do it. As long as she doesn't get caught up on the ground, trains for the wrestling, like we said before with Charles, right? If they're able to neutralize that ground game for Amanda, I think the striking favors Aldana just a little bit more. But again, the power and experience go for Amanda Nunes. She's been a champ for God knows how long and retained her title, got her title back again recently. That's only going to motivate her even more. She has her own training camp now too with her own team, no sharing partners with other opponents or whatever. Again, this is going to help develop Amanda Nunes. I feel like she is a better fighter between fights, sure, but Aldana I think has the secret sauce in terms of skill. What are your thoughts, Jason?
No, I think it's going to be an interesting matchup. Like you mentioned, Aldana is definitely the better boxer. Mm-hmm. I feel like she is more crisp with her strikes, more accurate, more technical. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, Amanda does have really good striking too. She's knocked people out plenty. Yeah. And we saw a lot of funny memes from her last fight with Juliana Pena.
Yeah, the whole Cartoon Network ass tumbles. Crazy.
So like, but that's the thing. It's gonna be interesting because what's gonna be interesting is, are we gonna see Amanda try to, keep up with Aldana's striking, or is she just gonna go straight for the takedown? Because maybe she's not gonna be comfortable. She's gonna be like, oh, you know what? I ain't trying to play games with this Mexican chick. Like, yeah, I'd rather just take her to the ground and just try to ground and pound her or submit her, because she's also good at that too. We've seen her do stuff like that. Yeah, so yeah, it's gonna be interesting. And you've already said your prediction, so I guess I'll just say mine too. Man, bro, this is an interesting one. man, God, I think, oh, so hard to pick, bro. I, th- I think I'm gonna go Amanda Nunes.
Okay.
Only because like, dude, this I don't know. Sometimes when I like watch certain people, like it just seems like they're not ready for the moment.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying like skills wise, Aldana has everything she needs,
Mm-hmm.
but I just feel like the nerves and stuff like that. Like I don't know, just watching the lead up and stuff, it just seemed like one of those fighters where like she was just like, oh, like she's so excited for the opportunity.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm so happy to fight the GOAT or like the greatest, all that. Like that vibe. I'm not saying that vibe is not a good vibe to have, but it's just like,
Not the vibe you want to see.
yeah, that's not the
As
vibe.
someone
You want to
betting
be
on
like,
Aldana, right?
right. I want to see like, yo, I don't care. Like, sure, she was the champ for the longest time and all that shit, but like, I'm here to fucking kill her. Like, maybe not everyone has that kind of mentality, but
Grasso. I mean, look,
when you're seeing
Grasso.
like, oh,
I mean, here's the thing, right? Same camp. Grasso didn't have that like, oh, I'm going to beat Valentina, bro. I'm going to beat the shit out of her. I don't know. She was just like, I'm here to fight. And then, bro, she fucking submitted her.
she
So,
capital, yeah,
she
yeah,
submitted her.
yeah.
So, again, I think
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And this is what I find interesting, right? Because Nunes, Valentina, these are old guard, not old guard, but legacy like legends in the game, and they were champs
Right.
up to recently, and some still are for a reason, right? However,
Right.
there's got to be a certain point in the women's division where like the new generation's coming up, right? And then we saw with again, Valentina's a slow question mark when she gets that rematch with Grasso. We'll finally get that answer for that, sure.
Really, yeah.
But with Amanda, after losing that first time with Juliana, granted she came back and dominated that second fight, sure, but again, like. Well, there's a lot of factors that could determine why, and also given the fact that Juliana can't apparently box a certain style, and she said, "I need to train with it. If I trained the other way of boxing, I would have won the fight." I'm like, "All right, wait till 3 happens. Until then, sit back and watch this opportunity fly by." And again, this fight was going to be originally their trilogy. I don't think it was warranted, to be honest, based on how Juliana performed. No offense, I mean her first fight shocked the world for sure. Arguably one of the biggest upsets in the sport of all time. However, again, at the same time, that return performance it wasn't Leon Edwards levels, I'll tell you that much. It wasn't a Leon Edwards level of rematch level, right? So, again.
That's what I'm saying. I think I see the same kind of, like you were kind of mentioning the Alexis Gracio fight.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel like even in that fight, Valentina was definitely winning most of the fight, and then she did something stupid and got caught, right? In the back, and then got choked out. So, in this fight, like that same, like having that, look, maybe she does, knock Amanda out, and that would be crazy to see, and that's just going to be an amazing video for the viewers to watch. So, look, I'm all for that. Like, I would love to see Amanda get knocked the fuck out. Like, not to say that she's a bad. I'm not. When I say that, I don't mean that aggressively. I just think it'd be cool, amazing content for you guys.
Right.
But I don't know. Just like if I were to put my money on it, like, I don't know. I just feel like when you have enough like that kind of experience and you're fighting a new opponent that, she's also like 5th ranked. Not to say that she's not deserving or anything, but I just feel maybe she's just not there yet. And I feel like Amanda just has that much needed experience and that high level of amount of time she's put into the sport. Like, I just feel like I don't know.
I agree.
I just feel like Amanda will
I
win.
agree. The jumping opponent that Aldana is going is probably the biggest in her career. And,
Right.
And I mean, this is going to be a crazy
It's
fight.
a huge test.
Yeah, it's a huge test. I mean, given that, like, sure, Aldana's been brisking through her division, but really that top 3, once you go into the top 5, there's a skill gap. But even if you go higher, it's even a bigger skill gap as you go up to those top 5.
That's true.
You go up. So again, I mean, if you look at Aldana's story, she went from graphic designer student to UFC title contender now. So it's a huge jump in terms of where she's been in her lifeline, in terms of her life, let alone in terms of UFC career as well. So again, I only say this just because I'm like, with Amanda Nunes, it's like she's either gonna roll her opponents or like it's gonna be a boring fight. Like, and that's why I'm like, I want to keep it exciting. I'm gonna predict Aldana to win just because in terms of technical boxing, it'd be crazy to see another person in advertising kick ass. That'd be crazy too, right? To see
Yeah.
I'm like, yo, if she can do it,
Yeah.
fuck, might join the fucking flyweights or the atom weights at one championship. See if I can beat some Asian dudes by cutting 3,000 pounds to make weight. You know, shit. Shit, why
Hey
not?
man.
But but all jokes aside, guys, I think that Aldana brings a lot of. I think Aldana, if she can buy her teeth, buy her mouthpiece, not be afraid of the crowd or that hype, and just throw blows
Yeah.
with her, I think we'll have a great fight regardless. But that's my take, Jason.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Bro. I mean, like I said, man, it's gonna be a great fight either way, and either way that it goes, as long as I think, even though I picked Amanda to win, I really hope it's not one of those fights where it's like, oh, she dominated, did her thing, and just knocked her out or submitted.
I mean, if she knocked her out, it'd be
Aldana.
like, all
But
right, just another day in Amanda Nunes. But if she gets
yeah,
clocked, sure, as long as it
but if
doesn't
it's the
end,
other way around, yeah.
right, right. As long, honestly,
Well,
as someone who's as someone who's people we're paying for pay per views. As long as the fight doesn't end up like, Rose Namajunas versus Carla Esparza, I'll be okay. I'll be okay. I'll be okay. We'll see how that
let's
goes.
not even talk. Don't even talk about that fight.
There's two fights we don't talk about: Yola Mero versus Israel Adesanya, and then Carla
Yeah.
Esparza versus Rose Namajunas.
Never mention those fights.
Those fights don't exist. What fight? What are you talking about? What do you mean? $30? Again, $30, $40 gone at that point. What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
Yeah. Nope. Nope.
Oh my goodness,
Crazy.
for sure. But guys, you heard our predictions. What are your thoughts on Charles Oliveira versus Benil Dariush? Am I crazy or is Jason crazy for our predictions, bro? Because we both got it completely opposite this time, but that makes it hella exciting because that means whoever wins loses. It's just gonna be fun to see how this outcome goes. Same thing with the main event. What are your thoughts? Is Amanda gonna keep rolling through, or is she gonna meet another contender who can put a pedal to the metal and show that hey, Mexicans are gonna get another champ potentially,
Or
bro?
Mexican champs.
Give this video a like, subscribe. Let us know your thoughts on how both these fights are going to go. Jason, all that's left is for us to watch those amazing fights that get down to it. Give our epic reaction and post-fight thoughts when Saturday rolls around. So, guys, we're going to wrap it up here. I'm your host, my co-host here.
Jason.
Give this video a like, subscribe. Y'all have a good one. Peace.